Agent Carter Season 2, Episodes 8 and 9, The Edge of Mystery, and A Little Song and Dance. Now, we got another great 2 hours worth of Agent Carter this week. I think this was definitely, I really liked the last two episodes, and we got like a nice little 2 hour chunk back then as well. But these two episodes were really, really good, and of course, they're the two episodes that lead up to our big season finale next week, which is kind of crazy, it means it's ending, and then, we're going to be back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again. But these were two really, really good episodes. I love the first episode for what they did with Jarvis's character and what he found out about Anna. I think that was all really good because we don't see Jarvis messed up. That just doesn't happen. So I love the fact that we got to see that. That was really good, and him being really upset and scared. And then she wakes up, and she wakes up, and I was like, okay, well, that's good. She's, of course, fine. And then we find out that they can't have children because there are complications. And he can't bring himself to tell her that, and he's freaked out. And because of what happened, because it's, a huge, huge thing, his whole drive is to kill Whitney Frost during that first episode. And I loved it. I thought it was really good. Everything that came up, it was like, can this kill Whitney Frost for him? And that was his drive the whole episode, and I really enjoyed getting to see that. And we got some other really great stuff in the first episode, which the funniest thing that they did is basically we find out that Howard invented the giant version of the Iron Man suit because they totally used all the Iron Man vocabulary. It's like photon and ion blast and stuff like that. I was like, so they're basically building the prototype of, the Iron Man outfits. And I thought that was cool because basically the way they have it in the cinematic universe is that Tony kind of built it, and that is like the original thing. He made it himself, but they're kind of doing it now where it's like his father technically had like really, really early prototypes of the photon blast. So I thought that was actually really cool that they did that, and we got to see Whitney, really take the final steps towards getting everything that she needed, the uranium rods and stuff. We get a very interesting twist during the first half where we find out that Wilkes is now working with Whitney because she's taught him how to kind of control his ability, and he turns on them to get the uranium rods. And I love the way that they did it, and it sucked that he ended up being the bad guy. But when he mentions like, oh, she taught me kind of how to control my power, and he gets the answer to where the rods are, and he jumps through the wall. I was like, I didn't expect that to happen, but that was very cool. Excuse me. And so we learn, or we see that he's kind of learned from her exactly what it takes to control his power. And I'm pretty sure he is still being corrupted by what's happening to him because we kind of saw the crazy outburst that he had. And I think now it has lingering effects where he's not outwardly just over the top angry, but now it's just there permanently. And it's like, I'm kind of out for myself and I'll do whatever makes me feel better. And it's almost like a drug. And now he's kind of feeling better now that he has it. But I really love what they did in this first episode. And Peggy was freaked out, when he had the gun to Sousa, and then Sousa had to make the decision, and he of course gives up the uranium rods, and Peggy's really mad at him and stuff like that. And we get Jack, who had a really funny line when he's like, "If it means anything, I would let him blow you both away," which I knew he was gonna say that because that's just a typical TV thing, but it's always pretty funny to me. But it was fun. We got to see Jack actually work with the team in this episode. He realizes that Vernon is actually a bad guy, that he has to stop him. He listens in on him on the phone. I was glad that he didn't die, because that's what I was worried about. I'm like, okay, I know this guy's an older agent, but that also kind of comes with more skill. So I was freaked out that they do it where he actually killed him, and they find Jack dead or something. I was like, I kind of hope they don't do that, even though it's like a mini series and how they have it. I still like we only have a couple of characters, so I like the ones we have, even if Jack has always been kind of the sort of pseudo douchey character of the show. I still like him as a character. He ultimately does realize what's good and what's bad. So I didn't want him to end up dying, especially after he just found out, and it's like, oh, he realizes now he was wrong, and then he gets killed for it. So I was glad that they had it where Vernon used like the mind erase thing on him, and fortunately he wrote those coordinates down, so they were able to go and take them all out. But it was super cool when they got to that ending, and it's like, all right, we set up the laser. We have our Samberly, the scientist, who apparently, I believe, I believe Peggy said his middle name was like Herbert or something, which was a funny scene, because it's like, because Sousa was getting super pissed. I don't think it was the same scene. I think it was when they were, um, setting up the cannon. He was like, "I swear to God, you're getting on my last nerve." That was like one of the funniest scenes in the episode to me, because Sousa's normally so calm. It may have still been when they were in the labs, but that was so funny to me because he was just like, "I swear to God, you're getting on my last nerve, Samberly." And I thought that was just the funniest thing because he normally doesn't have moments like that. But we have the doc in this episode who is still trying to be with Rose, which I find to be the funniest thing because he's always trying to say something and she like cuts him off, or she'll like grab his hand before he can like touch her face or touch her hand or something, and she'll do it like in a very platonic type of way. So I still find that to be really, really funny when we see him trying to like come on to her and stuff like that to be in a relationship with her. But when they had like the last, I think it was like the last actual 3 to 4 minutes, possibly 5 minutes of this episode, we have a lot of different stuff go down. We get to see Whitney really freak out because all she wanted was to be accepted by whatever was happening with the Zero Matter. Whatever this voice was, she wanted to be the chosen one. And I like the way that they played that because, of course, the guy who never wanted it, he's the one who kind of gets corrupted, and now he does want that power. And he, like she could always hear it, and she mentions, like, can you hear it and stuff. But he was the one who would see it because all he'd see is, like, this crazy, creepy black figure. So she would always hear the voice in her head, but he would see it whenever he was drawn near it. And for whatever reason, it wanted him more, and he finally heard it at the end, and he was taken in by the Zero Matter, and I thought he was gone. When they shot the cannon, I was like, oh crap, he's just gone. But then we find out that it's all absorbed into him. And, that leads to just some craziness during the second half. But when he's still knocked out, and Jarvis drives down, and he's just like, Whitney Frost, and he walks and just shoots her twice as he's walking. When he actually did that, I was just like, oh my god, like that was a crazy moment for his character, and I loved it because it was super badass. But honestly, I didn't expect him to really do that as he was just walking towards her. I thought he was going to be really mad and talk at least in the beginning. I thought he might actually shoot her, but there was nothing to say. He was like, Whitney Frost, and she turned around, and it was just a nice wide shot, and he's just walking, and he just pulls the trigger twice and takes her down, which we find out doesn't actually kill her. So that was actually a nice reveal too, because that was the big shock, because I really did think that she died, because we'd never seen anything like that happen with the Zero Matter, where it could just heal you. So that was actually a cool moment. And then Manfredi shows up, and he was super upset when that happened. He's like, "You're gonna pay for that," and he was super mad because basically they shot his girlfriend. And I really like Manfredi because he's such a weird character. He's super violent, obviously, but we have this scene. I'm pretty sure that was in the first half when they make the deal and everything, and he's making the spaghetti stuff with the woman and everything, and they threaten him, and then this woman tries to like kill Sousa and stuff, but he's like this dude who has all these different guys and stuff, and he killed his guy in the second part, this week, who, he was just driving the truck, but they escaped, and he's like, alright, that sucks, and he shot that guy, and it's like, alright, someone else drive the truck, basically. But he cares so much about Whitney, and, he tells her, I'm pretty sure this is in the first part as well, like, you don't need to cover up your face anymore, and he takes, like, the scarf off of her. And yeah, that was before the deal and everything. It's like, you are beautiful. And it's just interesting watching him as a character because he's so in love with her and he really doesn't care. And it's like, that's a great love, but the guy is so effing insane. It's not loving. Like, I still see him as just like the crazy guy because he's clearly so violent. But he is like madly in love with her, and it's just kind of funny watching that because he does care so much about her. But I love the first half for that. Second half was really good as well, and we actually see Peggy and Jarvis arguing with each other, and I like that. I thought that was actually really interesting because they don't fight, and then Jarvis kind of reveals the truth, like I was kind of out of my mind because my wife can no longer have children, so kind of took me down. But before that, the very beginning of this episode, which is why I was titled "Little Song and Dance," we get Peggy in this weird dream sequence, and it was cool to see her brother show up. That was actually kind of nice. And then we have her go to the bar. We get to see, I can't think of her name whatsoever, but the girl from the first season. So it was nice to see her show up, at least in the dream sequence. But she dances with Wilkes for a little bit, and I was like, I've never seen like a dream sequence before. I've never seen like you were knocked unconscious dream sequence that has like a little dance number in it, and then Sousa shows up and it becomes an actual giant dance number, and I was like, this is really insane. That was like the weirdest opening ever because it was weird and so out of place that she just has like this thing, and it's funny what it focused on because it wasn't like, oh, you're in danger or anything like that. The whole dance sequence actually focused on who would she choose as her love interest, and I thought that was interesting because they don't talk about that basically throughout the rest of the episode, and I was like, we're not forgetting the fact that she's stuck between these two guys that she cares about and who both care about her, but they did it through like a crazy dance number dream sequence, which I did enjoy. It was actually very interesting, and we actually see Sousa without the cane, so it was kind of just interesting seeing that and stuff. But it was just really crazy. Like that's the weirdest knocked unconscious dream sequence I've ever seen before. So props to them for doing like a weird kidnapping dream sequence type of deal. So I enjoyed that, but really good episode, really good second half, and we have Jack, who fortunately is able to save Samberly and Sousa by saying that he's, he tracked him down and tried to stop Carter and everything like that. So he was working with Vernon. They all trick him and say like, hey, we'll all work together to take down Whitney. We'll build up the machine, and ultimately that does become the real plan. I thought they had some other scheme and they were gonna like knock Vernon out and put him somewhere and then knock out anyone else that they knew was corrupt. But it was like, no, we're just gonna convince him to let us live and work on the machine to take down Whitney. And then when Peggy came back and they stopped her, and it was like, oh, that actually is their plan. It was like to actually work with him. I thought they were still just trying to trick those guys, and I was like, oh no, that's actually just their plan to work together and then kill Whitney. And Jack decides to play both sides of the field and take everyone down. And he had a great plan. Admittedly, his plan was actually pretty genius because he tricked them both. And so he tricks Vernon, and it's like, I want a seat on the council from Whitney. So everything's totally fine there, and he's going to, boom, click a button, take them all down. And they stop him because, of course, he would technically kill, and it was really one innocent person in that entire building, and it really was Dr. Wilkes. Everyone else was a bad guy. So it was kind of funny that they were like, so, like, and I understand why they were stopping because, Dr. Wilkes is an innocent man. But they were, I mean, and also he was kind of working with them, and they're, him being the bad guy at this point, there was a lot of validity, a ton of validity on Jack's point. I hate to say I'm kind of more on his side than, Peggy's and Sousa's just because of Dr. Wilkes, but he did turn on them because he was clearly drawn to the darkness, and they don't know what could possibly have come of that, and it could only be bad, which we clearly see from the promo for the next episode, because the bomb doesn't go off because they jam it, and then even after it's undone, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got absorbed in the smoke because Wilkes just like blows up. So who knows if he's coming back in the finale. I'm assuming he will. They're going to do something crazy. And maybe they'll use the cannon if it wasn't completely absorbed by Whitney. They'll use something on her, I guess. And I don't know. But it was just crazy. Like, he blows up and she walks out. And in the trailer, she's like, oh, try to blow me up if you want to. I'm pretty sure she says like, it won't matter now. Or something crazy. So she has like all the energy. She's absorbed it all now, somehow. And she's even more powerful than she's been before. They have to find some way to take her down. I'm pretty sure they showed another rift for the finale, so who knows how that happened. And I'm pretty sure I'm guessing they built another cannon as well to try to take that one down and take Whitney down. So there's a lot of craziness going on. I'm assuming Jarvis will talk to his wife in the next episode about how she can't have children. But they did have a really interesting moment with him and Rose, and we find out that that little letter he gave her was his last will and testament. Because I was trying to figure out, like, how did she know it was so important? I figured, it's just like it was like a really big letter, so I'm like, it has to be some, it's clearly important when you write like a final letter, but it's, when it's in like nice bold letters, like last will and testament, that is a hug-worthy moment. So I think he'll have his chance to talk with his wife, and they'll kind of figure things out and stuff like that. But I am very excited for this finale. I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing, because I've been trying to figure out, honestly, if this Zero Matter stuff is they're gonna say something where it's like this totally connects to Agents of Shield, because every time they show something with the ink, all I can think of is the obelisk when it goes into like that crazy liquid form. I keep thinking of that, and I know that they already said in Agents of Shield that that's like a super super ancient thing. So I know just the fact that the Zero Matter looks like black ink doesn't mean it's connected to the obelisk. But every time I see it, I just can't help myself. Like, I just keep thinking they're gonna say something like this is somehow connected to the obelisk, and it's something crazy because obviously there's a voice, there's the shadowy figure. I don't believe it's the crazy inhuman that is now taking over um, Ward's body or anything like that. Sorry if that was a spoiler, but it really shouldn't be, because either you're watching the show or you're not. Like, you can't not be caught up when it's about to come back on. That doesn't make sense to me if you're currently catching up on Agent Carter. So sorry if that was a spoiler, but admittedly, with the way that the time frame of that, that's definitely your fault if you are that interested in this show and Agents of Shield. But I don't know. I'm excited for this finale for sure. I think this has been a really good season. Um, I think what they've done with it being in LA has changed. The one thing that's like fundamentally different, I like the feeling of this season that's so different from the last one, is that it seems like there's a lot less of the SSR because we focus so much on Peggy kind of straying away from her orders. So she's not working with the SSR really. She's kind of just doing her own thing to solve something that's clearly disastrous. So definitely a different feel where she's not like in the office or anything. We of course, we still have Jack, but he's always been just like the character. We don't have like the chief like from the last season, which unfortunately we will not have him because he died. But it's very different from when they were in New York, because she was always in the office, and it was always like she's dealing with office politics and going on missions and stuff like that. And it's almost like this is a very odd example, but it's almost like a video game where the first season was like a linear style game where you have to go this way and it's each level, and this seems like an open world game. It seems like it's kind of her doing her own thing, and it just feels very different. I don't dislike that, but I did like the SSR feeling because we know that the SSR is like the beginning of Shields, and that's where kind of she comes from and how it just expands. And that's kind of what I want to know a little bit more about. I'd like to know that backstory and how that eventually develops, which we might get, depending on how long this show does go on for. I did read an article, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, that Haley Atwell is going to be the lead actress in another show. So that could cause conflict with us actually getting a season 3 of Carter, which would really suck because she's great as Peggy Carter, and the show in general is very awesome. But I don't know, hopefully she gets that lead and she can still be Peggy Carter whenever they decide to do it, even if it's like shorter episodes or something. Shorter seasons, I mean, not shorter episodes. I would still love it if we at least got a smaller season 3 or something like that. So hopefully we do get a season 3 and she's not too busy with a new show that she can no longer be, Agent Peggy Carter, because that would really suck to see the show go. Especially when it's really good. It's not like, oh, it got crappy and they canceled it. It's like, no, it's still really awesome, but she just couldn't because she got a more stable job than like these couple of episodes, because admittedly that's not a lot for someone who's being an actress or actor. So hopefully it still works for season 3 and she can do a season 3. But either way, I'm very excited for this finale. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about these 2 episodes, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what you guys want to see for the finale, what your expectations are, especially with the ending of the second half for this week. Just big explosion. Wilkes may or may not show up in some form. I'm assuming he will, at least in a form. It might not be his human form, though. But I'm assuming he'll show up in some form, but he did just explode, and it was just like, pff, black ink, fade to black after that, technically. So there's a lot of possibilities. We saw in the trailer, Whitney, of course, does survive, so everyone's kind of coming together. Even Manfredi was working with them, if I remember right, because she's absorbed so much. I think she's just, like, fully snapped now. So I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about these 2 episodes, as well as what you want to see for the finale and your expectations for the finale. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.